Day one of the PRI show here in Indianapolis is now underway. We had the historic announcement that we were waiting all week for. With much anticipation. It was regarded as one of the biggest announcements in NHRA history, and now we finally know what it is. Tony Stewart, the former NASCAR champion and NASCAR Hall of Famer and just all-around racing legend here in the state of Indiana, is going to be making his full season run in a Top Fuel dragster come 2024 for the Mission Foods Drag Racing Series. It was not an easy decision for them to want to make. Leah Pruett obviously finishing third in the points at the end of the year after an incredible scene facing Doug Coletta in the final round to decide the championship. She ends up finishing third. I saw her with a highlight of winning Norwalk and Dallas in the same year, and now deciding to pump full-on brakes to now get out of the car to try and start on a family. And this was a decision that they said that they made back around the midpoint of the year, but didn't want to scrap the points because they didn't think it was fair to her, the team, or the sponsor, so they decided to wait it out until the end of the year, and now the decision has been made. They had decided on how they wanted to find a driver. It was ended up on deciding with Stewart because of the fact that he has 20 runs in his belt with the test sessions that he's done since getting into the sport of drag racing, against the guys like, say, Cody Crone or Julie Natas or even Lyle Barnett, which Leah Pruett said was the person that they were looking at to possibly take that role. But because of the fact that Tony has the experience in the Top Fuel dragster more than the others, and because of the fact that in his rookie campaign in a top alcohol dragster now has the best reaction time of the class, it was decided to put Tony Stewart in that car, which was a big surprise to me when I first heard about this. I actually was told about this a couple of days ago and couldn't really believe it, because of the fact that Tony has been adamant about the fact that even though he was open about saying, I'm not saying no to anything, he was very adamant that he was okay with where he was at in the Top Fuel dragster, because he said that thing scared the daylights out of him because of the fact that he couldn't really feel the car. Those cars spin the tires easily, and because of how much power is in that car, he couldn't feel it. And when you are spinning those tires and you keep your foot in it, it blows the engine. And if he feels that if he's too old where he can't feel it, he doesn't need to be in the car. But because of the past season that he had in Top Alcohol Dragster with getting comfortable with that, he got the confidence to feel that he could actually pull this off. He's going to be delayed in testing because of the fact that he has shoulder surgery done after Thanksgiving and is now going to have to sit out for about 2 months with rehabilitation, and then can actually start testing. Leah Pruett is actually going to drive the car at the pro shootout down in Bradenton, Florida to kick off the 2024 season. So that's going to be a big deal for her, as that'll be her send-off win. If she wins that race, who knows what's going to happen, because after having a career season that she's had with the highs that she's had and almost winning the championship, and the fact that Matt already won his, I cannot imagine trying to get out of the car. We've seen drivers in the past do this, like the four sisters of Courtney and Ashley. They got out of the car to start their own family. We have yet to see them ever come back. The most recent time I've really seen Courtney was back at Indianapolis consoling him. So, huge deal for this. Some other notes to talk about. Leah's going to step in as a drag racing coach. She's actually taking classes on how to do that, and Matt's going to be a drag racing coach for them as well. Team was actually informed yesterday that this deal was being done, and it was, the one thing I want to say is props to NHRA, because there was a lot of drivers that had zero clue what this announcement was about. I had to do a lot of digging and go through some contacts to try and figure out what this deal was. And like I said, couldn't really believe that it was happening. So really props to the NHRA for being able to really keep this within a small network of people that knew what this was. The goal for Tony in 2024, just to not suck, to get comfortable in the car, to get the runs under his belt, which is what a lot of the other drivers had told him, was the fact that the only way you get comfortable in this is by pulling laps. So that is what Tony's goal is going to be once he gets that shoulder rehabilitation done. Leah tested Tony's car back at Indy. Tony is actually too big for Leah's car, because the same way with AJ Foyt back in the 90s, Tony's frame is a lot bigger than Leah's, same way AJ Foyt was compared to a lot of the more single-seater drivers of that era. So he has actually had a special chassis made for him, which Leah tested to try and get some notes on to get ready for the season. And again, like the advice I said, get more laps in the car, which is what we're going to expect to see out of Tony Stewart, more than likely at IRP. So we do have a lot of interviews that we are able to get on one-on-ones with media availability, as well as Zoom calls. We do have some interesting notes to give you, and then we'll wrap it up here and get you more news here at the PRI Trade Show.
I want to give a big thanks to everybody coming out, and for all of our supporters. PRI has always been very instrumental for all of us, and in all different ways. For me specifically, 2015, I had announced for 2016 looking to be my first Top Fuel full season, and that was 7-8 years ago. And we're here to announce that I will be stepping out of the seat in 2024, focusing on starting a family with Tony. And with that, between myself and Neil, this decision did not come overnight about who was going to be that selected driver. And through Tony's, he has proven through multiple ways that we'll discuss, being a candidate that Neil Strasbaugh and myself selected to replace me in the Top Fuel Dragster for TSR with our existing partners for next season. And how this decision came about, no, I'm not pregnant, and really want to put that out there. I do plan to run the pro events in Bradenton in March, but there's multiple factors that played into this of why this is happening now. I thought it'd be extremely unfair. If we went into 2024 and we happened to start a family at that time, the points would be scrapped. That's not fair to my guys. It's not fair to our partners, to our fans. So right now was the decision that we had made in order to have full faith conversations with everybody about what our plans are, and so that we can continue to move forward. I couldn't be more proud of what this organization has done to get, we go from finishing 11th 2 years ago to finishing third, could have finished first by that final round. And I had known this has been pretty much a 9-month-long process of just getting to this point, and I went into that entire countdown knowing that I would be out of the seat. Nobody else knew. My crew didn't know. My crew chiefs did, of course, as we planned. And so we went ahead, and Tony has had a car that's been built in case he wanted to drive, and he didn't fit in my car. He's driven my car plenty of times, and he's very uncomfortable.
That's not funny. Just because she's skinny and I'm fat, that's not funny. Round is a shape, all right? I am in shape.
So we had a brand new PBRC dragster built with the 058 new regulations for next year. We've tested that. I've driven it. Tony's driven it. And between what he's proven this last year with the McPhillips team, finishing second in the points, having the best average reaction time of the entire class as a rookie season, and the car, wasn't as great as it was maybe in the beginning of the season, and Tony really proved his drivability. From smoking the tires to spinning to pedaling to leaving on everybody to running against supercharged cars, he's got it locked in. In my opinion, he's the world's best wheelman. Argue that however you want. And so when it came down to deciding who's going to fill this seat that our partners appreciate, recognize, can get behind, I'll tell you what, this might be a little unnerving. There's nothing like telling some of the most important people in your life that you're doing this, and that includes our team. So we informed them yesterday, and we were, I think that was that prepared us for this today. So I couldn't be more excited to support my husband in a very extremely competitive race car, very safe race car. I'll be his driving coach next year. That'll last like this long, I feel like. He's got a good wrap around it, as well as a new role that I have with the team, which is in the technology department as we work on new projects. So I've been deeply invested in that. I started some courses, and that actually started Saturday at Pomona. It takes about almost 40 hours a week to get me to where I need to be in order to do this job. And ultimately, we just plan to optimize our performance in every way. And as hard as I've thought that I've worked to do well in my seat, I'm working just as hard, if not more, as well as the entire team, to make sure that Tony's in not only the same caliber race car, but maybe even a better one next year, so he can run right there for a championship like we were.
And Tony, obviously this is huge news for the sport in that everything you bring with you with your experience and your championships and other forms of racing. But there's another angle to this, not simply getting in the race car. On the NASCAR side of things, you're aligned with Ford Motor Company, and here in drag racing, it's going to be a Dodge program. So if you can talk a little bit about navigating that, because that seems like a tightrope.
Yeah, and it took a while too, but like you said, I've got a great partnership with Ford on the NASCAR side and our World of Outlaws team, but Dodge has been a big part of our program at TSR on the Nitro side. So this isn't any different than what Kenny Bernstein's done, Chip Ganassi's done, Roger Penske is currently doing in different series with different OEMs. And I really appreciate Ford working with us on this. This wasn't something that was planned out of the gate and was a 5-year plan that's just now getting here. This is something that we're making a U-turn in the road without turning the blinker on in front of everybody, and everybody's scattering. So But Ford did a great job, and Dodge has been amazing to work with, obviously, these last 2 years with Leah and Matt, and really proud that they signed off on letting me drive their car too. The goal is just to not suck, which is going to happen for quite a while, I'm afraid, but we're going to do everything we can. It's a great opportunity for me, obviously, but and that's on the driver's side. But from the husband side, I'm super proud of how strong a person my wife is. To think about, for all of us guys, we can start this process in 30 seconds and go about our life for the next 9.5 months, and it doesn't change our daily activities at all. When you have a female racer, this is a topic and something that is life-changing for them in their careers. And to watch Leah go through this process, and literally this was her decision. We talked about it before. I had a really hard time distinguishing whether I was supposed to be in husband mode or car owner mode. I made it 30 seconds in husband mode and 9.5 minutes in car owner mode, and I realized at the end of 10 minutes, I may not have to worry about it. I might get divorced. But so we kind of came to the conclusion that I told her it is her decision 100%. Whenever she wants to do this, I'm behind her 100% and supportive. And I'll be honest, we were driving to the banquet on Monday, and I fully expected somewhere in that drive for her to say, hey, I think I want to push it back one more year after how strong a finish she had to the season. So I think it really speaks volumes to how strong a woman Leah is, and makes me really proud to be her husband.
But one of the signatures in your career is you've never done anything until you felt comfortable enough to do it. You had an opportunity very early on to come out of what is now the Xfinity Series, I guess what was in the Busch Series, into what would have been a pretty decent ride in the top level Cup Series. But you pushed that back because you didn't feel you're comfortable at the level. Obviously, you feel that now in a Top Fuel car. Right, sure. If you say so. Well, you're making a move, buddy.
It scares the shit out of me every time I get in it. It's
I feel like when you look at any driver that's entered the Nitro ranks, they come from all different types of backgrounds, or maybe very little backgrounds. And I feel that Tony he's proven himself in so many other ways that when you compare to the other ones jumping in their experience, yes, he might not have a ton of Nitro experience. You got 20 runs right now, planning to get like 27 more before Gainesville. And I think he's going to fare very well. If I didn't, he wouldn't be in it.
I could get fired by her. We don't know.
Right. We have a big role reversal.
Yeah, we should probably start an over-under pool and see where this goes.
On the opposite of the spectrum, Bruno did a sit-down with you and Matt Hagan, who had won the championship by then when the calamity of the second round of Funny Car happened. He talked to you, I guess, going into that final round, and you could hear in your voice broke up a little bit. You talked about how just emotional you had been. You said it was probably the most emotionally kind of weighted day you've ever had at a racetrack, and that's coming from a guy who's run the Indianapolis 500 a bunch of times and won championships and all the big races.
Yeah, it was hard not to. It's been a different dynamic being with Leah now. It's normally I was the one behind the wheel and I was the one in those clutch situations, and I know what that's like. And to sit there and watch her through the day, go through all this, and I'm watching her, and I saw the same thing you and Tony saw. I saw how calm she was. And she just never broke. I mean, it was every round, just the intensity kept ramping up. Her intensity in her head, it was just going down all day. For me, it was climbing exponentially. Yeah. And to sit there and when we pulled her around to the water box for the finals, I'm like, Doug Collette is somebody that I raced sprint cars with in USAC in '94 and '95. He won the championship in '94. I won it in '95, and he runner-up that year. And I'm sitting there going, wow. This has kind of come full circle.
Oh, it's a full circle moment.
So everybody that was standing up there knew it was going to be a cool moment for either one of them, no matter who won it. But when we pulled around the corner, to know what her plan was and what this really meant, knowing that she wasn't going to be in that car next year and had all this momentum to the end of the season, it was way harder on me apparently than it was on her. She just did it like it was a walk in the park.
So when we talk about what your winter is going to look like, what your testing process is going to look like, how much of that can you share?
It's going to be a little bit before I get testing. I had shoulder surgery on my left shoulder the day before Thanksgiving, so I'm going to get in trouble with my doctor if he sees this, and he is the NHRA doctor.
I was going to say, who just so happens to be the NHRA lead
most
doctor.
Likely I'm going to be in trouble. I'm supposed to be in a sling walking around, so please don't walk by and pat me on the shoulder and go, hey, good job,
congrats. Please, I will get you.
hit Hagen. He's big and sturdy and hardy. So, but it's I'm told it's a 3-month process to heal. I'm going to call Aaron Rodgers. He's figured out how to cheat time.
Apparently, yeah.
So I'm going to call him and try to get some tips from him and see if we can figure out to shorten this duration of the rehab.
So you made the announcement. Everybody now in the world knows that you're going to be driving Top Fuel next year. What are the emotions now that it is officially out there that you're going to be doing this next year?
Well, glad to get the announcement over, because it's been a work in progress, and there were a lot of variables in the equation that we had to address, and with different OEMs and literally not having much experience driving a Top Fuel car, there's just a lot of stuff going on, and talking to partners and trying to figure out timing of all this. It was never a part of a master plan to end up where I'm going to be next year, but when your wife says she's ready to start a family and wants to take time off to do that, then you're thrown into a situation where you got to come up with a solution. So this was a lengthy process. It wasn't an emotional decision by anybody. We literally, through the discussions with Neil through the year, we were very calculated about everything till the end of the season. And at the beginning of the year, I didn't have my name in that hat. She asked, and I absolutely refused to be in it. So we were working through the process of who to hire, and then later in the fall she asked again, and I said, yeah, I think I'd be all right with that. But I still thought there would be somebody that would be on the list that we would end up with. But I feel like this is a scenario where they have a little more confidence in me than I have in myself at this point.
Yeah, because you talked about, I remember back 6 months ago, you went on Dale Jr. Download, and you were pretty adamant that while you would never say no, you were pretty okay not getting in behind the wheel of one of these things again. Through those 6 months, what was the decision to kind of, I would say, advise you to maybe be more comfortable doing this, rather than saying go out and hiring, say, Cody Crone or Julie Natas or somebody else throughout the Top Fuel ranks that's still looking for that Top Fuel ride? What was it that got you to say, okay, yeah, let's do this?
Well, I think when we actually, for the first time, wrote it out on paper, I've made 20 runs in a Top Fuel car. Those guys haven't. To go through the season and to see the variables in the equation. And these were things that Leah and Neil pointed out that were important to those guys, as far as when we had to pedal the car, or we had a couple instances where things went wrong, and we did a good job of saving the car, and I didn't think anything about it. I just do what I do. And those guys saw some things in there that they really liked about what I was doing in the alcohol car, and they're way smarter about drag racing than I'm ever going to be. So it's hard for me to sit there and go, yes, I feel like I'm ready to do this. I don't know how you're ever ready to drive a Top Fuel car or funny car. It's the craziest thing I've ever done in motorsports in my life. So we're going to get thrown in head first, and it's going to be a long process to get up to speed and get comfortable. But having your wife as your coach, Matt Hagen's a great driver coach, having a team that we've worked with for 2 years that I know these guys in and out, they're like family to us, to have their support, and everybody knows that this is going to be a work in progress. So, they're all patient, and they're all excited. They're excited for us as a family first. They're ready. They don't want their driver to be out any longer than they have to, and I don't want her to be out any longer than I have to. At the end of this, I'm happy going back to alcohol. It doesn't matter what I do, but, I think it shows how strong a person Leah is when you have your best career finish in the series, knowing that you're making that decision to walk away. And, honestly, for her to sit there after she had that finish and go to the banquet the next day, I fully expected her to say she wanted to push it back a year, and she never did.
And you talked about Matt Hagen. I know that over the past year, Matt and both Ron, back since the award ceremony last year, were kind of nipping in your ear, trying to get you to jump into a funny car. Were they disappointed at all, hearing that you actually are going to be a dragster rather than doing what they felt you were born to do, and that being a flopper driver?
No, they absolutely were 100% supportive, which I thought they were going to give me the business when we told them yesterday, but they were all excited for Leah and I, like I said, first as a family. And that shows what our team's about. It's about that family atmosphere.
And then what I also want to ask about is, over the past year, you've been very head-on into this, probably more so than any other sport you've been in, jumping in from a driver, then as a team owner, and now a promoter. What is it about drag racing that makes you feel that this is where you need to be compared to where you've been at doing dirt, SRX, and NASCAR, and everything in between?
Well, I retired from NASCAR. I'm too fat and too old to be in an IndyCar. Sprint cars, I mean, the pace these kids can run now, I mean, it's a faster pace than I want to run in a sprint car. This was never, the NHRA side was never part of a master plan. It just literally evolved. And you know, when I met Leah, I became a huge fan of NHRA. And, you know, then I went to Frank Hawley's drag racing school because I wanted to understand, listening to her talk about a run, I wanted to try to understand some of those variables. So, like I said, it was never part of a process, but it has been steps that have led us to this moment.
All right, appreciate it, man. Good luck next year. We'll see you down there in Gainesville. All right, so that's going to do it for this video. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Because of you guys, we get the fact to be here, and it is honestly really cool to get to do this. There is a lot more announcements that's going to be made throughout the week. Another one that was made just recently, Buddy is actually going to be driving Alex Laughlin's car. Alex Laughlin has been shown the door after Haviland has decided not to renew their contract for the sponsorship for 2024. With that, Alex Laughlin's going to be out, and the former Top Fuel driver is now going to be driving a funny car for Jim Dunn come 2024. So that is going to be a very interesting thing. There's a lot more news to come out. I know that there is a announcement with PDRA that's going to be made later today. I know that Maynard Racing has an announcement they're going to do tomorrow. So it's going to be all hands on deck through the entire week, especially down at that stage down there. I'm going to try and get you as much as I can and try and get you an end of the day video here before the day is over. So again, if you want to follow along to keep up on all the circus that's going on with this event, with all the news coming out, because there's going to be more full-time entries being announced, be sure to follow me, Mighty Mac 03, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Threads. I'll be posting on every single thing I can. Be sure to subscribe to the channel to get more content updates, and be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that to boost this video so that way more people can see it, and so that way we can get ready for the PRL shootout. So again, until the end of the day, this has been Mighty Mac, and I will see you next time.